Okay, so here we are, we're back. We've done some annotation on both the poems, and now we're just looking at how we would go about writing those up. So as you can see, I've kind of moved some of the annotations across to give me a bit of room to actually talk about them. So, just move this along. Over here, then we would start writing up. So we're going to talk about the title of the poem. Suggests that the mother is watching her child sleep, and the greater dark, and it is sometime late at night. Okay, so that's our basic introduction based on the title. Then we're going to talk about the first line contains the metaphor I stood at the edge of my child's sleep. As if the mother is unable to be with the child in their sleep, but is perhaps is fascinated by it and unwilling to leave. Now, I might just say, for me, this reminds me of my first son and now the 10-month-old baby I have. Okay. Now, obviously, hopefully most of you aren't going to be talking about the kids that you've already got. Okay, especially two, that'd be a bit young, but you might have little brothers or sisters who you've watched sleep, and it's always a good idea to talk about what it makes you think of, because that is in the question. Write about the poem and its effect on you. Now, I also enjoy the full rhyme in the poem of breathe and leave, which gives it a soothing musical sense to the poem, almost as if it was a lullaby. Then I'm going to move on and talk about the second stanza. Duffy, so always use the poet's surname if you've got it there. Duffy extends the metaphor of the sleep as a wood? Yeah. Comparing it to a small wood. She paints a picture of natural beauty. I'm going to drop in the quote there. Dark, peaceful, sacred, and also uses sensory language to develop. This is quite idealistic and got perfumed with flowers. Let's get you on that. I like the line, naked in hours because it's as if the sleep is measured in time rather than in distance or space which the wood would be mentioned in. This metaphor right. Now I'm down to here, I'm only halfway through. There's quite a bit to say about that. What I would just like to have a look at is how you could go about weaving in some comparison. So you could just continue talking about the poem and complete your analysis of the first poem. That is fine. That's probably the way that most teachers would recommend you do it. And I'd back that. I think that's a good organised way to do it. Make sure you pick out a good range of points about your first poem, because then what you've got is the comparative side, which in some ways is the hardest. But you've got lots to compare with. Okay, so let's have a go. Let's start with a comparison. So unlike Duffy's poem, poet's name is Boland. Boland's poem uses direct address as if the mother is talking to the child directly. Now, in terms of effect, maybe that kind of seems more intimate. It's like you're eavesdropping on a conversation between the mother and child, but I think the Duffy one was very intimate as well. So this creates intimacy as if we are eavesdropping on their conversation. Whereas the first poem creates intimacy and through the quiet of the poem. So yeah, it's like with the other one, it's like you don't want to disturb anybody, you don't want to wake anybody because the child stays asleep. So the time frame is also slightly different, and Boland begins with the simple statement, this is dawn. Duffy's poem was set in the middle of the night, and there was no sense of any light because she talks about the greater dark, so I'm going to mention that. Okay, so we're comparing as we go. Right, However, as with, what's it called again? Child sleep. It's also natural imagery. So we had the wood. Bowling calls the dawn, the moment. Whoa, daisies open. And the mercurial rainwater makes a mirror fall. This makes me imagine a shiny, rounded surface of water, as I remember seeing Mercury. Strong surface tension. So again, what I'm doing is kind of relating it back to something I've seen or something I know. Then normally when you say we drown our sorrows, it means get drunk. So in the final line of the first stanza, Brown says to her baby, this is a phrase normally associated with getting drunk, but here links back to the title. Should have some milk. Right, now just so I'm thinking about that, perhaps because the baby is now awake, it makes more sense for Boland to talk to the baby. Duffy's poem. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see we've got comparing from the start. We've got the idea of effect, oh, a bit Larry, comparing, effect, comparing, effects, and what we are doing is attempting to embed quotations as we go. You can see it starts getting to my stride here. Okay, so that's kind of the approach read through both carefully, and you have got time for that. You should be spending at least 15 minutes doing that, annotating, picking up points that you know you're going to say. Then your first section of writing is the analysis of the first poem. When you come on to the second one, what you're trying to do is start off with comparison and weave it in as you go, that you can see the bits in red. We still talk about the effect of the second poem, and we're still trying to embed quotations. All right, hope that's helpful.